It wasn't a joke, not to me, but my uncle made it one, and the room followed. "Let's keep it tidy for the pictures, huh?" he said, waving his hand like I was part of the clutter. I was 29. The event was our annual family reunion, every summer, second weekend of July. We met in the same rented hall, same generic floral centerpieces, same buffet trays sweating under heat lamps. Nothing ever changed. Except this year, I wasn't at the main table. The seating chart had been revised, formally, printed. Main family in the center, alphabetical on either side. I was listed under overflow. Aunt Shirley, who always handled logistics, leaned in and whispered, "It just made more sense this way. You know, with the optics." The optics. I stood there, holding my name card between my fingers like a parking citation. My cousin's kids were already at the smaller table. Fold-out chairs, no tablecloth, crayons on plastic runners. Uncle Greg walked by, glanced at the card, then at me. "You're in the gig economy now, right? Probably feel more comfortable over there anyway." He laughed. That laugh. The kind that swallows the air in the room. The kind that dares you to say something back, just so it can become a bigger joke. I didn't say anything. I moved to the smaller table, sat beside a 9-year-old playing with a juice box straw, folded my napkin, didn't touch the food. They took family photos without me. You can see it in the group shot. Everyone posed around the head table, and the overflow cropped by a floral centerpiece. That was the year they decided I didn't belong up front, not because of anything I said, or did, or forgot, because of where I worked. A gas station off I-94, night shift manager, uniform polo, badge, and a drawer of half-used pens. I'd been there 3 years, paid every bill, covered 2 emergency vet visits, never asked for help. But in that room, none of that mattered. My job was visible. And they didn't like what it said about them. Uncle Greg owned 5 car dealerships, had a face made for local ads, and a voice he used like a hammer. His wife ran the HOA like a private kingdom. Their kids had internships handed down like heirlooms. They weren't cruel, not directly. They were curated. And I didn't match the curation. So I sat through the reunion with a smile on my face and a void in my stomach. I listened to their speeches. I nodded at their passive commentary. I posed in photos I was never tagged in. Then I left before dessert. No goodbyes, no raised voices, just the sound of the door clicking closed behind me. My name is Sabrina Branch, and next year, I wouldn't ask for a seat. I'd own the table. They didn't whisper behind my back. They said it outright, like commentary during a political debate. "Sabrina's working nights now," Aunt Meredith told the woman arranging shrimp cocktail. "At a convenience store, I think. Gas station? Somewhere like that." "She's always been independent," Uncle Greg would chime in, like it was a diagnosis. "That girl's allergic to stability." It wasn't just what they said, it was how they said it, with that tight-lipped smile that comes with feigned sympathy and real condescension, that tone that wraps judgment in soft words and serves it like dessert. My job wasn't a secret. I worked at Buchanan Fuel and stop off the I-94 interchange. 3rd shift. Wore the blue polo with the flame logo and the name patch stitched crooked. I stocked shelves, ran register, cleaned up vomit, and called the cops twice a month when the drunks forgot how car keys work. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid. Rent, groceries, a used Corolla, 2 dogs with stomachs more fragile than my self-esteem. I wasn't broke. I wasn't ashamed. Until they decided I should be. They didn't ask why I worked there, didn't ask if I liked it, didn't ask if I was safe. They asked when I was going back to school, or if I'd met anyone who might help get me out of there. They asked if I had a plan, as if survival wasn't one already. Uncle Greg brought it up every time he saw me. "You still there?" he'd ask. "Bet you see some characters at night, huh?" Sometimes I'd nod. Sometimes I'd make a joke. He'd nod like a man politely enduring a story he didn't care about, then pivot the conversation toward one of his dealership expansions or his son's MBA program. To them, I was background noise in my own story, the girl with the discount name tag. The one who took a pause that never unpaused. The one with no ring, no kids, no property, and no LinkedIn they could screenshot. So when I got demoted to the kids' table, no one protested. Not even my father. He said it was a mix-up and just how the tables worked out. Then he asked if I wanted to take leftovers home, since you work odd hours. I didn't answer. I just watched the people I grew up with decide I no longer fit into their curated legacy. They didn't exile me. They simply reframed me, and I let them, because I wasn't ready yet. But I was watching. And one thing about gas station shifts, there's a lot of time to think between 2 a.m. and sunrise, a lot of time to plan. There's a kind of silence you learn to carry when you're used to being talked over. That night at the reunion, I carried it like armor. I didn't argue when Aunt Shirley waved me toward the plastic chairs, didn't flinch when Uncle Greg made another crack about the economy and career detours, didn't speak when Melanie, his youngest, asked if I could grab more napkins since you're probably used to customer service stuff. I just nodded, smiled, stood, walked across the room, came back, set the stack of napkins down without a word. They mistook silence for agreement, but what I was really doing was archiving. Every comment, every glance, every smirk exchanged behind half-sipped wine. They thought I was folding. I was documenting. I didn't touch my food. The meat was dry. The salad had that yellow-edge supermarket fatigue. I stirred a glass of ice water and watched the condensation bead down the side. My father came over once, leaned down and said, "Just get through the night. Don't make it a thing." Like I was the problem, like being moved from a seat I'd occupied for 10 years, right between the dessert table and the centerpiece photo booth, wasn't a thing already. I asked if he had known. He hesitated, which told me everything. He said, "You know how they are," and walked away. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I pulled out my phone under the table and opened my notes app, wrote down July 9th, 8:13 p.m., moved to overflow table. Greg laughed. No one objected. They handed me a paper plate and told me to smile for pictures. I kept the note. Saved the photo from my vantage point, plastic fork, juice box, and Melanie's reflection in the chafing dish mirror taking selfies. Later that night, back in my car, I sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes before turning the ignition. I posted to a private account, just a blurry shot of the name card, S Branch, Overflow, captioned, 29 and still disposable. Cheers, family. No hashtags, no anger, just a digital timestamp on a night I didn't want to forget. That post didn't go viral. Not yet. But it started something. The next morning I filmed a video, just my voice over footage of me restocking windshield washer fluid. People talk a lot about where you sit at the table. Sometimes it's not about food. It's about status. Tonight I got moved. Not because there wasn't space. There was. But because I made them uncomfortable. I hit upload, went back inside, and started writing more. Stories from the night shift. Receipts I'd kept, emotional and otherwise. Things people said when they thought I was invisible. I wasn't invisible. I was preparing. For a while, it was just a trickle. 20 views, then 50. A few likes from usernames I didn't recognize. People who worked graveyard shifts. People who also got moved to the wrong table at family events. quiet people with long memories. I wasn't trying to go viral. I was trying to stay sane. I kept the content raw. No filters, no music. Just my voice, steady and dry, talking over stock footage I shot during slow shifts. Gloved hands sweeping spilled coffee grounds. Silent aisles lit by flickering fluorescence. The sound of a cooler door clicking shut. And stories. I told stories. The time a man tried to pay for gas with a Walmart gift card and screamed when it got declined. The time a mother left her baby on the counter to chase down a lotto ticket she thought she'd lost. The time a stranger bought me dinner and left without saying a word, just a $20 bill taped to a granola bar. No punchlines, no exaggeration, just moments. Unremarkable to anyone else, but underneath there was a theme. Dignity. People missed it everywhere. The people I served, the people who passed through, my family, myself. I didn't call the page anything fancy, just at Register Row, a nod to where I spent most of my nights. By month 3, I had 10,000 followers. By month 6, it was pushing 100K. People weren't just watching, they were commenting, sharing, messaging me paragraphs about jobs they were ashamed of, families that erased them, dreams they shelved. Turns out, the overflow table was pretty crowded. I monetized slowly, ethically, partnerships with ethical brands, tip links, custom merch with small white text on plain black tees. I clocked in. You looked away. It sold out. Then came the media requests, an interview on a podcast about resilience, a mention in an article titled The Working Class Diaries. I turned most of them down. I didn't want attention. I wanted control. And eventually, I got the message. Through my cousin Taylor, a text. Hey, Aunt Shirley's wondering if you're coming to next year's reunion. They're booking the usual venue again. I read it twice. Then I opened my calendar. The date was still open, but the venue wasn't. Because 3 weeks earlier, after passing a small milestone I never announced, I had already made a call, booked a location, same city, same weekend, different name on the reservation, private event, hosted by S. Branch. No public invite, no group thread, just a formal RSVP request sent to selected guests. And yes, there was a table. But this time, I chose the seating chart, and Uncle Greg wasn't on it. It wasn't petty, it was architectural, a redesign of a moment they thought they owned. I booked the venue 6 months out, quietly, anonymously, under the LLC I'd created for my platform. Not a ballroom, not a church annex, a rooftop gallery downtown, all steel beams and soft lighting, space enough for 100, room enough for intention. The date? Second weekend of July. Same as always. The name on the event? Private event, hosted by S. Branch. No hashtags, no Facebook group, no glossy email blasts, just curated invitations. I sent them through a private form on my site. Simple RSVP, yes or no. No plus ones unless pre-cleared. Every guest would be checked. Every name on a list. There was no room for the people who put me in overflow. No Greg, no Shirley, no cousins who smirked through my demotion. Only the ones who saw me. Aunt Maria, who once slipped me $50 and whispered, "You don't owe anyone an explanation." My godbrother Ezra, who helped me haul boxes during my 3rd apartment move. The clerk from my night shift who once said, "You're not quiet. You're just focused." I hired a local chef team, family-owned, ex-culinary school. Fusion dishes, no buffet trays, no folding chairs. The seating chart? Handwritten. Each name written with care. First name only. No labels. No hierarchy. At the center table was a place card that read simply, Sabrina. No title, no job, no qualifiers, just mine. The day before the event, I posted a short video, a slow shot of me walking past a line of unmarked doors. Voiceover. They told me where I belonged. I believed them, for a while. Then I built something else. It hit 2 million views overnight. The comments were a flood of quiet solidarity. I've been at the plastic table, too. Your silence was the loudest thing in that room. Then came the messages. Uncle Greg. Not directly, through his daughter. A text. My dad heard about your event. He's a little confused. Was it meant to include everyone? I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed, no. Sent. No explanation. No lecture. Just one word. Because this wasn't a negotiation. This was the consequence of being catalogued, dismissed, and underestimated for over a decade. The guest list was final. The space was paid in full. The photographer was booked. And the next family reunion? It wouldn't need everyone. It only needed truth. The building had 2 entrances, Main Street side, locked, private, rooftop access, escorted only, security at both, hired through a company that handled political fundraisers and museum galas, everyone in uniform, everyone with a list. I stood near the reception table in a slate-colored dress. No branding, no jewelry, just calm. The music was soft jazz. The lighting was warm. Tables lined with eucalyptus, not glitter. No plastic forks, no shrimp rings. At 6:42 p.m. I saw them. Uncle Greg and Aunt Shirley. He was in a navy blazer with a pocket square, like he expected flash photography. She wore something floral, something performative. He walked with purpose. She followed one step behind, scanning the room for familiar faces. Faces that weren't there. The security detail stepped in before they reached the stairs. Names, please? Greg Branch, he said, and this is my wife. He didn't ask if they were on the list. He assumed. Security looked down, scanned once, scanned again. I'm sorry, you're not listed. Greg let out that chuckle again, the one that had echoed over bad jokes and worse power plays. That can't be right. This is the family reunion. The guard didn't blink. This is a private event, by guest list only. A pause, and then Aunt Shirley, tight smile, lowered voice, leaned in. We're her family. The guard didn't move. Across the glass entrance they could see the room, people seated, laughing. A slide on the back wall looping photos. Me in the station. Me with friends, me with coworkers, moments they'd never seen, people they'd never cared to meet. Greg stepped back, scanned the faces, then he saw me. I didn't hide, I didn't wave. I just looked at him. He gestured, 2 fingers upward, like he expected me to fix it. I tilted my head. Security repeated it gently this time. We're going to have to ask you to leave. For a moment, I saw something flash in his face, confusion, then anger, then calculation. He leaned toward Shirley. They're making a mistake. She didn't reply, because it was already clear. The mistake had been made years ago, when they thought I was disposable, when they cropped me out, first from the table, then from the photos, then from the family myth. And now, they were the ones looking through the glass. They left without a scene, just tight shoulders, stiff steps, no eye contact with the people streaming past them into the elevator, people who nodded at me, smiled at me, thanked me for the invitation, people who saw me. Inside, I took my seat, center table, my name card, handwritten, flanked by people who'd never made me earn decency. Dinner was served. The event continued. And outside, Greg Branch was just a man who showed up to a party where his name didn't matter. He called me a week later, not from his number. He used my dad's phone, probably thinking I'd pick up out of habit. I did. He didn't waste time. You really left us off the list. No hello, no apology, no acknowledgement of the glass wall, the guard, the silence. I said nothing. He continued, voice clipped like a man trying to sound calm while nursing a bruise. That wasn't necessary. This whole thing, Sabrina, it was about the table, wasn't it? I almost laughed. But I didn't. Because this wasn't about a table. It never was. It was about a pattern. Being laughed at, being talked over, being used as the butt of the joke because I didn't make the family look good on paper. It was about the way they said just a gas station with a smile. About how my father flinched when they asked where I was working now. About being handed the leftover dessert while Melanie opened gifts with engraved initials, so I answered him plainly. No, Greg, it wasn't about the table. Then what? He snapped. Because all I see is someone holding a grudge. I let him sit in that. Then I said, you don't hold a grudge. You hold a mirror. And eventually someone can't look away. There was a pause. Not confusion. Just ego searching for something to punch. I hope it was worth it, he said finally. It was, I replied. He hung up. No goodbye. No resolution. And I was fine with that, because not every story ends with redemption. Some end with distance. Some end with clarity. Mine ended with a full guest list, a catered dinner, and a toast made in my name by people who didn't ask me to shrink so they could feel tall. I posted one last video that week, a clip from the rooftop, no faces, just glasses raised, candles flickering. Captioned, they said I was too trashy for their table, so I built one they couldn't sit at. I logged out of the account the next day, not out of shame, out of peace. Let the algorithm chase something else. Let the next girl at the overflow table know she's not alone. Let the silence after rejection become the sound of rebuilding. Because some of us weren't born to beg for a seat. We were built to host the room.